Thank you, Chairman. General Breedlove, I would like to thank you for your excellent leadership and service to our country and your family as well. I would like to ask you, you have said, I think on several occasions before this committee today, that you've submitted your plans on your recommendations for both lethal and non-lethal support to Ukraine. And I would like to ask you, how long ago did you submit those proposals to the administration?
Ma'am, I'll get this exactly wrong. It has been some weeks ago.
Has it been over months?
Can I get you that answer so I can get it exactly right? And
Yeah,
have
I
my
mean,
staff pass
so
it?
here's my question. So you've been before our committee before. You've talked about the dire need in Ukraine, and we all know the situation continues to escalate based on your testimony. Is it fair to say, though, that you've already submitted your recommendation? I know you're going to check on me, but we're talking more than weeks, aren't we? Talking months here?
It could be, ma'am. I just need to get it right.
I think it's important for us to understand this because you haven't gotten an answer yet, have you?
We have not seen the final result of that.
Well, here's the problem. There's a real urgency here. We got an issue with Russia, and you've made your recommendations. We admire your service. You've said, let's make sure we don't take any options off the table. This committee, over a year ago, plus, as a whole, on a bipartisan basis, said, let's provide lethal support so Ukrainians can defend themselves. And it hasn't happened. You haven't even gotten an answer. So I appreciate, we look forward to hearing when you submitted this, but I would call on the administration to support Ukraine and to take up your recommendations and to act with some urgency here on behalf of our friends, the Ukrainian people, who we've seen Russia blow off the Budapest Memorandum, and we also see their aggression, and it's time for us to stand with the people of Ukraine. I would like to also ask you, in the wake of the November terrorist attack in Paris, to what degree do you believe that ISIS will continue to attempt to infiltrate the refugee flows?
Ma'am, I think that they are doing that today. I think that, as you know, when we, over a year, maybe even as much as 2 years ago, when we had refugee flows that were not completely consistent, but probably more legitimate refugees fleeing non-responsive governments, ungoverned spaces, civil war, terrorism. What we have seen growing in the past months and year is that in that flow of refugees, we see criminality, terrorism, and foreign fighters, and I know that doesn't sound like a distinction, but I see a distinction in the latter too. And so this criminality, the terrorists, and the returning foreign fighters are clearly a daily part of the refugee flow now.
So this is a real risk, obviously, both to Europe and ourselves as we look at this refugee issue, and something that we need to be very careful about in terms of screening, and also making sure, especially with the number of refugees flowing both into Europe and also some of them coming here, that we're very careful about this. Would you agree with that?
Ma'am, I think we need to be careful about all flows of these refugees. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I would like to ask, what specific steps have we taken in European Command to ensure that Moscow doesn't gain a military advantage as a result of its development of ground-launched cruise missiles in violation of the INF Treaty? And this violation has been something that has been noted many times in this committee over the last couple of years.
Ma'am, thank you for that question. And I think you have heard, actually in testimony before this committee, the Secretary of Defense's plan on how to address that. At an unclassified level, he lays out 4 steps, and that's what we're doing. We're at, or 5 steps, and that's what we're doing. Again, at a classified level, I'd love to have my staff get with yours over those steps.
That would be helpful. What I haven't seen, though, maybe I'm missing it, I haven't seen us really press Russia or call them out on this in a very strenuous way. Am I missing something?
Ma'am, we are, I guess that's a question of degree. We are calling them out, and the State Department and others who deal with this in the treaty realm are the first and primary voices now, and I would not want to speak for their efforts at this point.
Well, I look forward to also hearing more in the classified setting about our response, but I continue to remain concerned. Russia has essentially blown off the INF treaty and what it means for, obviously, the protection of us and our allies.
Ma'am, we'll have the staffs connect so that the classified piece can be done.
Thank you.